What the hell was that? The Town disappointed, stunk the gaff out at Bramall Lane on Saturday afternoon, losing 2-0 to Sheffield United. Alongside me to review a very, 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 very bad day at the office, I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe, and Luton boxer Frankie Storey is joining us for this episode. Gents, I hope you're all positive, because I ain't got a great deal of good things to say about that.
Can we just go straight to talking about Frankie?
I think we should do, yeah, absolutely. We will look back on that game and talk more about Frankie after this intro.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the longest running Luton Town podcast, which is now award nominated as one of the finalists in the Best Football League podcast category at the Football Content Awards. This season we're sponsored by Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I said before the intro, we are reviewing Sheffield United 2, how the hell was it only 2? Luton Town 0. And alongside me, I've got Jimbo, as always, and as I said, Luton boxer Frankie Storey. Frankie, thanks for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate your time. Obviously, big week for you, which we'll come on to later on. But you are a Luton fan.
Yep.
Disappointing.
Absolutely disappointing down at Bramall Lane. I think, again, like you say about the conceding of the goals, 2-0 to Sheffield United. It could have been more. But I believe, can we get a good season out of Luton? Possibly. We're just going to have to see, aren't we? The next few games.
Yeah, we're going to come on to the what might be's and everything else a little later, but I mean, we'll start with the game. It's not going to take long to reflect on that game, because from a Luton perspective, I don't know, I don't even know where to start, which when I'm hosting podcast is not a good place to be, Jimbo. I guess the first thing to start with, back four. We've called for it. We finally got the back four. Let's forget the six in front of them for a minute, because that was an absolute shit show. But the back four, same back four that finished on Tuesday night and finished pretty well on Tuesday night. Left to right, Rue Waters, Mark McGuinness, Ted Mengi and Reece Burke. And you thought, okay, he's done what people have asked. You kind of hope not because people have asked. You kind of hope he's managing this team himself rather than what people are saying and everything else, and I got the feeling at the press conference that he is. So from that point of view, that was a positive. There ended the positives.
Yeah. Well, that's what we've been calling for a long time, isn't it? And I think that's the lineup we said we'd probably go with if we had to. We didn't want to see Reece Burke at right back. That's not Reece Burke's game, although he can do it. So yeah, from that point of view, it's quite a positive, even though you're sort of counting the defenders and seeing how they might fit on that team sheet. But you know, that was good. That's a good start. It's just that 12 minutes in, it went all wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the formation. So, I mean, we've been calling pretty much for a 4-3-3, haven't we? That wasn't the case. 4-4-2. Right wing, Alfie Doughty. Left wing, Victor Moses. Central midfield, Marvellous Nakamba, Tom Krause. Jordan Clark playing slightly behind Elijah Adebayo up front. And that, I mean, to say that didn't work would be an understatement. That was an absolute... I mean, Elijah might as well have been at Hillsborough than Bramall Lane. They were so far apart. It was untrue. But the one thing I would say about it is the back four, and this isn't going to look great, me saying this because we've lost 2-0, but the back four, in terms of structure, in terms of organisation, and in terms of the four of them being in the positions that they're meant to be in, it worked, as opposed to the five where they all end up covering the same patch of grass. That wasn't the case. They were always in position. The problem was they seem to have lost the ability to defend properly. The first goal is an absolute joke.
Yeah.
And the second goal isn't a great deal better. And as you said earlier on, but for Kaminsky, you know, they're running up a cricket score again. However, we wanted a back four. It was more organised, but they've got to defend better than that. And that's just basic.
I just feel they need to stick their studs in the grass a little bit more. obviously it's not boxing, but bite down a little bit more on the gum shield if they did have some, and give it a bit more welly. I just feel there's no sort of structure, should I say, to any of their game plan that they're trying to oppose on their opposite sides. Yeah, it was just so sloppy at the back, and that's how they conceded the first goal. Again, second goal come through and was just sloppy again. There weren't chances there in the game where I thought, wow, like that was a screamer of a shot. It was all just sloppy defence. But fingers crossed we can build on that coming throughout for the next few games of the season. So
yeah, you wouldn't say they cut us open at will. They were in front of us for most of the game. They didn't get in behind us. I mean, to be fair, there weren't an awful lot of space in behind us anyway. But Rak-Sakyi down the right hand side, and it had to be him, didn't it? He was a bit of a pain, and he got Walters on a yellow card fairly early on in the game. And from that moment on, he pretty much did have him on toast. But the first goal, will someone please dominate the sodding scene and get rid of it? We've got Clark, yet again, too weak in a 50-50 challenge. Krause loses out the second ball. Don't even challenge for the third ball. It's only Kiefer Moore. I mean, he's only 6'6", built like a brick shithouse. But don't worry, we'll leave him be. And then McGuinness and Walters look at each other. To me, to you, it's like the Chuckle Brothers, which is ironic because they're from just down the road as well, isn't it? And Rak-Sakyi was like, well, if you don't want it, I'll have it. Absolute terrible attempt to take the ball off of him. And then it's in the back of our net. 4 times we had to get rid of that. I mean, you can put everything you want on the manager. And believe me, that some of yesterday was on the manager. But you can't put that on the manager. There are 4 people that can get rid of that before it gets anywhere near our goal.
It's just embarrassing schoolboy defending, isn't it? Nobody taking charge of the situation. The first 2, okay, you've lost challenges. When you add them up and you look at it as a whole, you're like, well, it's a whole plethora of terrible decisions and non-action. But then to not challenge or be anywhere near for the third one is bad. But then for the ball to drop and McGuinness to be so hesitant, he's supposed to be the senior pro here. Rue Walters is still only 19. Rue Walters also hesitates, but again, he's the senior pro is Mark McGuinness. Show that you're the leader, take charge of that situation, wipe out everybody in your sight, and get the game going again. And I mean, you're taught those basics from a very early age in terms of defending, and the fact that we're in this situation, and ever since his first home game where he made that mistake against QPR, there just seems a mistake in him all the time, and that's not what you're spending all that money on.
I mean, I just want to see some. I called him out last week, didn't I, for that piss poor effort to block Plymouth's third one. At least he was in the way in some way, shape, or form in that. He just wasn't in the way at all yesterday. And passing the football, I mean, Christ alive. I think I've looked at the stats. 73% is our pass completion rate. So just over 7 in every 10. So 3 in every 10 passes that we make going to the opposition. So you're on the back foot pretty much all along anyway. This is a confident side. We didn't exactly need to bring them on to us. They were doing a pretty good job of that themselves. Then they're a good side. I'm not going to disrespect them or anything. But were they Burnley? No, they weren't. They weren't even close to Burnley. But what they were is they were strong. They were front-footed. They were looking to go forward. They were everything that Luton weren't. And that's the disappointment. I can take Luton losing. Christ, I've seen 35 years of Luton losing.
Of course, yeah.
I can take it. But not showing no fight, not showing no heart, no desire. I'm not going to say that there was no effort, because no one goes on any sporting field and gives no effort.
Of course.
But a bit of fight, a bit of desire. When that first goal went in, do you know what I'd like to have seen? I'd like to have seen someone go up to the two of them and say, what the fucking hell were you two doing? Someone get rid of it. Get in their faces. Do it. Do you remember last season, Mengi, was it at Brentford, when Barkley at Arsenal, when Barkley let Smith Rowe run? He was right in his face. Now, if you're going to do that to Ross Barkley, why the fuck can't you do it to McGuinness? You know, where is our personal pride?
The dog, the dog in the fight.
Where's our pride gone?
Understand you.
We're just going to accept that.
It just feels like they're waiting to take a punch, really. Not saying that just because Frankie's here, but it just, every game it's like they can do all the stuff. They can do certain stuff well, like you just said, the structure was all fine and everything, and there weren't too many chances where they carved Luton open, certainly not in the first half. But then a mistake like that happens, and that's it. It's all confidence gone, and we're sort of back in the old Jones days. If you concede first goal, you're screwed. That's against any team. Against Sheffield United, who's conceded 3 goals the whole season, which, you have to hold your hands up to and say fair play, because they conceded a record amount of Premier League goals last season. Suddenly, over a summer, they've turned that around. Makes it doubly difficult to see how they are now where they are, and we're 1 point above relegation.
I mean, you have to say from their point of view, Harry Souttar at the back. I mean, he's a colossus. He's the geezer who shone for Australia in the World Cup, on loan from Leicester, I think he is. I mean, they've got 3 loan players. That's another thing. When we were successful, we used the loan market really, really well. They had 3 loan players yesterday. Rak-Sakyi, who we know all about because supposedly we wanted him. Souttar and Alfie Gilchrist on loan from Chelsea at right back. They didn't even play their best player. He was sat watching for 65 minutes. I mean, you're like, this isn't going to be a particularly fond podcast for Mark McGuinness, but some of his passing yesterday, I mean, he had the most passes in the Luton shirt. That's just the way we play. But there was one in particular in the first half. He played the ball into Nakamba. There's no one around McGuinness. He's under absolutely zero pressure whatsoever. And Marvellous is under zero pressure to receive it. 10-yard pass. He didn't get within 2 yards of him. I mean, you talk about the basics. You're a professional footballer. Give the ball to your mate who's under no pressure. If you can't do that, we are seriously struggling.
That should be the minimum requirement. At least pass the ball. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
Accurately, anyways. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Minimum requirement there for sure, yeah. So.
And then there was another one in the second half. Again, I don't want to dig the guy out because he's obviously new to us, struggling to settle in maybe and everything, or still needs time to settle in and everything else. But there was another one where he tried to play the ball just out to Victor Moses, got nowhere near him in the second half, and they're in on our goal 2 passes later, and you're like, care the fucking football, for Christ's sake. We've been told that we're going to be a possession-based side. Yeah, 3 in every 10 passes yesterday were disappearing in the directions that we weren't in, and then it got through the whole side. There were a couple of times Marvellous passed the ball straight out of play. Marv doesn't do that. Jordan Clark's first touch, I mean, I don't know if he was playing football on a trampoline, but that's where it went. It was just ridiculous. The only outfield players yesterday who can come out of it with any credit whatsoever are Reece Burke, out of position, but showed enough. Victor Moses gave his all. I don't know what he was dicking about on the left-hand side for. He should have been on the right. And Corley Woodrow, when he came on, put himself about, got a couple of decent crosses in, should have had an assist with Jacob Brown late on. Apart from that, if the rest of you are looking in the mirror and you're happy with what you put out yesterday, we have got some serious problems.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the highlights as well, there weren't any because...
Well, you're watching Sheffield United's time on the ball, aren't you? Because the goalkeeper could have sat next to me. And I'm glad he didn't because he's a big fucker, but he could have sat next to me and it wouldn't have made no difference. We had 2 shots on target. One of them's a cross from Clark and the other one's from sort of 20 yards out, which there ain't a goalkeeper in the land that wouldn't be falling on that. It's like...
I mean, you look at the stats as well, and I think that
27% possession, is it?
27. At one point, they had 85%. I think that was in the first half.
This is a side who we flagged up in the preview have the 3rd most successful long passes in the Championship, and we're getting 27, a quarter of the ball.
Yeah, and if you looked at the BBC, if you just went on stats, it said something like Luton had 8 shots. I can't remember any.
I can't remember any of them shots at all.
So
yeah, they're saying here the Sheffield Wednesday had 7 shots.
Sheffield United.
Sorry,
they'll kill us if you call them that.
You know that. Sheffield United 7 shots on target. Luton 2. What's that all about? Do you know what I mean? What's that all about? Luton 8 shots and Sheffield United 15. Again, piss poor. Okay, block shots 3 from Sheffield United, 2 from Luton. But again, look at the possession there: 36.6 to Luton. Sheffield United 63.4. So it was all over us.
And a lot of that possession was when they gave up at 2-0 and they just declared, which they did. 10 substitutions happened in the game. Their 5 were just literally rotating players. I mean, they brought Hamer on. Don't know why they bothered bringing him on. They didn't need to. The game was well and truly won. I mean, we could still be there now, and we're recording this more than 24 hours later. Luton weren't scoring. I mean, to be fair, we can still be there at the end of the international break and Luton weren't scoring. It was just an absolute shit show from start to finish, if you excuse my French. But that's the game covered. Like I said to you earlier on, it ain't going to take long to go through that game. But where do we go from here, right? Because there's an awful lot of singing yesterday against the manager, and that's fine. It was dire. It was disgraceful, and he's going to encourage a lot more of that singing by saying that this is on him in every single press conference. Some of it is. Don't get me wrong. The shape yesterday was okay, although why 2 in midfield against 3 again, when 3 had worked so well against Oxford for the first half on Tuesday night? Why are you then sacrificing a midfielder going up against 3 decent midfielders? Okay, they had Brewster in at 10. Fair enough. But that Sousa looked really good at our place last season, and he Rolls Royce again yesterday. Our blaster, I can see why Footmob had him as the best player in the championship. Just bossed it. 19-year-old kid. I mean, come on, Town. Again, where's our pride? No one put any tackles in on them. To be fair, even when they did close them down, and it was very rare because we only seemed to close down when they were in our half of the pitch. Even when we did, there was always a spare man because we've got 2 up against their 3. So what's that all about, first and foremost? But I keep hearing Rob say in the press conferences, post-match, pre-match, whenever it is, that we're a team low on confidence. So why the hell would you come up with all of this complex, complicated nonsense? Just strip it all back now. And we need to now for Watford. And we'll come on to that, obviously, in a couple of weeks when we come around to that. But I've seen worse Luton teams than this, right? I've followed us through the conference. We're talking about levels. But this current Luton team cannot play any worse than yesterday, I hope. Because if it does, we are in serious trouble.
I agree with that.
That's as low as it can be, right? So in terms of where we're at as a football club right now, yesterday we hit rock bottom. I hope. Please let that be the case. So now we need to build up. And this all needs to be stripped back, right? You pass to you. You pass to you. You're going to be here. Know where people are. None of this fancy, we want to get Reece Burke on the diagonals. We didn't have the fucking ball to give him a diagonal. He can be anywhere on the pitch. If you ain't got a ball, he's only going to be out of position. You know, let's match them up in the centre of the park, because Championship football ain't won at both ends of the pitch. Championship football is won in the centre of the park. We saw that 2 years ago where Marvellous came in and all of a sudden we dominated every single central midfield. That is where Championship football is won. You had 3 midfielders yesterday that you could have played there, because you started with Krause and Clark in midfield on Tuesday night alongside Nakamba. You could have played Pelly. You couldn't have played Liam Walsh, but you could have played Shandon Baptiste. You've got 6 midfielders there when Liam Walsh has completed his suspension. For the love of God, start matching up and putting 3 in there. Put 2 wide of a striker and ask one of the midfielders to get their ass up alongside a striker and create something, and just give them a formation and some tactics and some instructions that are simple. Because right now, this is not the Premier League team. There might be a lot of the players, but they don't need that now. Right now, they need it as simple as can be. Let's get a result. Let's build on it. And who knows, stepping stones. We might well get to the stage where Rob wants to be, where we can play this expansive fancy down shit. But right now, we need to toughen up. We need to show up. We need to fight. And we need to keep things simple. Pass a 10-yard pass to us. I mean, it's not like the kits were clashing. It's pretty obvious. We're wearing blue, they're wearing red. You can't get it wrong. Simple passes, do simple things, get ourselves up the pitch and try and offer something, but make us hard to beat. If we have to draw 2 or 3 games, and these next 5, I'd take 2 or 3 draws, I've got to be honest with you. If we have to do that to then build, that's fine with me, because when we got promoted last time around, we were going nowhere at the World Cup break. But then we came out of it and we built. And who knows, they might use January properly this time around and we'll build again. But right now, everyone looks lost.
That's exactly it. It feels like a Rubik's Cube at the minute. The minute you solve one thing, it's wrong around the other side of the cube. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so we were calling for a 4 at the back just to make that simple.
And that really
They
did
do.
work. I got to stress, that really did make us look a whole lot better defensively. I mean, Frankie just said 15 shots they had. That's not a lot for a home side. That's shots from here, there and everywhere. 15 shots. 8, did you say 8 on target, 7 on target, whatever it was? That's not a great deal.
7 on target.
That's not a great deal from a team that are top of the league, or would be, but for their points deduction. So that worked, particularly when 2 of those 7 are from our cock-ups. And Kiefer Moore had one from when Ted and Mengi got caught on the ball as well. So 3 of them from our mistakes. So 4 of them shots on target over 90 minutes have come by their own good play. That's an awful lot better than what we were conceding shots on target and shots at as the 5. So the 4 is something to build on. But in front of it, Jesus Lord.
It's just so confused, isn't it? I mean, there's no reason why Reece Burke should be the furthest player forward at any stage, really. And Clark just behind.
I mean, that's the worst one of them.
I mean, that one, I almost feel like that one is because they have to manage Jacob Brown coming back.
But you've got Corley Woodrow.
That's true.
Corley Woodrow's a 10 in. You don't just wear 10. He's an actual 10.
All right. You've got me there. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's baffling.
Clark played yesterday. Okay, he scored against Oxford, so fair enough. Start him. How the hell he played 87 minutes? And I'm not digging Jordan Clark out. I love the guy. We love the guy. He's fantastic as a bloke and everything else. And he's been brilliant for this football club. But right now, his form stinks.
Yeah.
And he played 87 minutes and Zach Nelson came on for him. I mean, what's it telling the young kid? You can't come on for this bloke unless there's only 3 minutes left when he's honking the place out like that. That's not good. Everyone's moaning that Corley Woodrow came on before Joe Taylor. No, I'm fine with that because it needed Woodrow, because it needed... You can't throw inexperienced heads in there. That's throwing them to the slaughter, and that's not the right thing to do. That will quickly lose the dressing room, which I don't think he has. But these complicated tactics might not keep him in it for much longer, it has to be said.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to it that is trying to fix problems that aren't there if you just keep it simple. So I can well understand anyone's criticism if they're saying that. The lack of goals is a major issue.
Definitely.
Obviously. I don't think that improves by making Clark what would he be, like a 9?
Well, he's in between the two, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, to be fair, a couple of times he did close Sousa down, and once he got the ball off him, which led to that cross-stroke shot early on in the second half. I'm guessing that's what he's there for, to stop Sousa getting the ball. The trouble was, it wasn't Sousa getting the ball, it was our blaster, and no one was within. I mean, I don't know if he had bad BO or whatever, but no one was close to him at any stage of the afternoon, and it was kind of embarrassing because you're like, how many times is this bloke going to feed the striker before someone goes near him? It was his ball through for the second goal. I've seen some criticism of Rue Waters for the second goal, but do you know what? If every single time he had the ball, Rak-Sakyi, he cut inside on his left foot. And there was one that thankfully he scuffed a shot in the first half on the edge of the box, which Kaminski saved. But every time he was coming inside. So Rue Waters has got his body as if to say, you're going down the line, son. You are not, whatever happens here, you are not coming inside and having that shot that every single player in the Premier League did us with last season. You're not doing that. So you're going on down the outside, and I think we've got you then. But of course, the one time he went down the outside was the one time Kaminski had his legs open and the ball's gone through. And it's like, that isn't bad defending for me. That's good defending. That's just bad luck. The one time we needed Kaminski to get us out of a hole because he's kind of done us, he's got his legs open and he's gone straight through him.
Yeah, but also he's 19 years old as well. He's
on the yellow card as well.
He's learning his trade still, and he's playing on the other side to where he should be. I mean, it worked against Oxford.
If we were going to play
if
we were going to play a 4, he had to play left back, didn't he? Because they've made it perfectly clear they don't trust Alfie's defensive skills. They didn't even put Alfie on the left wing because they were so worried about the Gilchrist Rak-Sakyi partnership. They had Moses there to track that particular run. Nothing came down the left side. I think it was McCallum who played left back for them. I was expecting it to be Burrows, the ex-Peterborough guy, but it wasn't. And Callum O'Hare, who really drifted inside. There was nothing that they had down the left hand side, so Alfie was fine to be on that on that right hand side. But they don't trust him, do they? That much is clear. That's why we've been messing about with wing backs for however long. So until Amari Bell comes back, unless they're going to throw Joe Johnson in there, and they can't throw him in the derby. That's just sacrificial lamb job. Until Amari Bell's back, probably is only Rue Waters who can play at left back.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to have to just. I think we said this in the preview podcast. We don't want to see really those positions being filled in that way, but I think that's going to have to be the way it goes for now. I think it's not about tactics at the moment. It's about application and effort and fight, isn't it? And that's what the first goal showed. There was indecision and nobody taking charge. And then, throughout the game, really, it felt like there's no one grabbing anybody by the, metaphorically, by the scruff of the neck and saying,
No, literally. It's about time we do it literally.
I'm no football fanatic, but I definitely say just strip it right back down to the fundamentals and get back to basics. A bit like what Burke said, go back to basics and strip it down, build from the ground up and see where we go from there. Try not to make it as complicated as we can. Just keep it simple and hopefully use our chances that we get. So.
Do you know what I'm coming into line of making Reece Burke captain. I know the bloke's only going to play 6 games and then miss some, but for the 6 games, just make him captain because he's the best defender we've got, and I include Ted and Mengi in that. He's the best defender we've got. He's never beaten. He's strong. He's physical. He can do it all. I don't know if Hashi's back for the derby, but if he is, stick him right back and stick Burke in centre half and just drop one of the two. It don't really matter. Neither of them are playing particularly great. McGuinness or Mengi, and go from there. But
it's big calls all over the place because absolutely nothing is going right, and it's almost like you can't afford to make a mistake against Watford. We'll come to it when we do the previous one. I think there's some big questions around, what are you expecting out of Watford? But that's not this podcast. But it definitely feels like there needs to be a back to basics approach. And I mean, you're a sportsman, Frank, aren't you? So when things ain't going right for you, what's the process?
It's the process again. Stick together as a team, and again, I'll keep going back to the fundamentals of things. Just start back from the ground up and regain yourself. As a professional sportsman myself, I probably know the pressure that these guys are going through, especially from home fans. Do they bring the pressure home? Possibly. Is there pressure in the changing room? Absolutely. Is there pressure on the pitch? 100%. So I just believe that hopefully midway through the season we'll get a bit of luck, or hopefully on these next 3 vital games that we need to win, and see Luton obviously not get relegated, because that's the way it's looking at the moment. So.
In the modern sports world, though, can your coach still give you some hard truths and it gets something out of you, or does he give you some hard truths and you're like, well, I'm not listening to you, I'll get another coach sort of thing? Can he still, like, say, Frankie, I don't know if you've had it, but that was a shit sparring session, and get into you, and then the next time you're like, right, well, I'm going to prove him wrong? Or are we in this world with sportsmen now where they have all the luxuries and things that, bearing in mind that Luton played in the Premier League last season, is it hard for the manager now to have that impact?
I think as an individual sportsman, I think tapping into your ego is a real important thing to get the best out of you as a sportsman. Premier League, they've had that little hint of glamour at the top of a top flight of football, and for me, becoming a professional boxer, like, it's really, really important for your team and your coach to sort of tap into you and say, like, if you're having a shit day, you need to know about it. You really need to know about it, so you can up your game the next time you go out, or the next time you fight, or the next time you perform. And that's it's a very vital part of progression as a sportsman.
Because we're not in the dressing room,
of course,
and Rob might be doing this, but if he is doing it, he's not getting no impact out of it. And if he's not doing it, time's come around to start doing it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's in a sort of protection mode. He'll never come out and say that publicly.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you can see it with what's in front of your eyes. If someone's just had a rocket, even at half time for a second half, look at Oxford the other night. They came out all guns blazing in the second half. you can tell a football team or anyone that's had a rocket up their ass, and then they come out.
I've seen it with Doughty.
Yeah,
I've seen it with Doughty a few times. He's absolutely played a blinder like on the second half, and I thought, where's that come from?
Brighton this afternoon. Their managers obviously got stuck into them at half time because they looked a completely different side in the second half. But we don't. We do, but not for the reasons that we want to be. We look an even worse side in the second half.
Well, yeah, especially when you concede the first goal. I mean, this team right now needs everything to go right for it. And if that takes you just scrapping and making it horrible and nicking something, which probably feels like it's going to have to happen, that's the way. You're not going to play this silky football all of a sudden when it hasn't worked for 9 games. So it's just going to have to, grit your teeth and get on with it. But that's going to take people not hesitating on things like you did for the first goal. Well, for all of it, there was 3 passages in that where nobody's doing the job. And I think it was quite telling, actually. I think Rob only said it in the BBC interview afterwards when they were asking what can you do from now until the Watford game. So it wasn't necessarily about this game, but he said, and I'm just paraphrasing, is win your duels, win your challenges, fight, and all that sort of thing, which kind of says to me that that's what he saw none of at Bramall Lane. Well, nobody did.
Well, yeah, he ain't got a blindfold on then, has he? Because we all saw that. Yeah, that's the thing, right? If Luton lose a game of football, there are ways in any sport to lose, and that weren't it. That was not it. That was I don't want to use the word that was a rollover, but it was as close to it as you're going to get. So this international break has to have come at a good time now. Just go away, forget them 9 games. Players, I mean, forget them 9 games. You can't do nothing about them anyway, even if you wanted to remember them. Just start from scratch now, and let's build it up. Let's carry on with this 4 at the back. I think it does work. Give them the right number of people in the centre of the park to then allow us to progress a little bit further forward, and then hope that the wingers can provide Elijah with something that, or if it's Morris by that time, as I'm pretty sure Morris will be back for the derby, provide something that they can score from. But even if we have to take a 0-0 or a couple of 0-0s whilst we build this foundation, we need to build a foundation now. What was it John Steele said? You can't build a cake without all the ingredients. Well, we need to put the ingredients in the right place now before the cake starts to flourish, because they've gone off these ingredients.
Well, for me, I think Sheffield United has shown that. If you're saying how have they turned it around, we've said all along they were a better team. Let's say that there's no question about that. They were the better team. They had all the ball, all the play, all the chances. So they absolutely outplayed Luton on the day and deserved to win.
Yeah,
but they didn't cut Luton open at will. What that team, I think, I saw from that performance has done is build on solid foundations, which is not conceded. Obviously, they didn't concede against Luton. They didn't concede against Swansea the game before. They've conceded 3 the whole season from a team that absolutely leaked them last season. It's an unbelievable turnaround, but that seems to be where you start from. And if you're hard to beat, as we saw in the Championship promotion season, where you go away and you win 1-0, that's got to be the basis, surely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, lots of singing against the manager on Saturday, particularly when he came over at the end. And there's no criticising that necessarily. I'm not overly sure singing things like "How shit must you be? It's only 2-0 and we've got the ball," or we've had a shot, or things like that, derogatory to the players. I'm not sure that's going to help matters. But sure, the manager, he keeps on inviting it by saying it's all on him and it's for him to change. So if he's going to say that, then fans are probably within their right to sing Edwards sort it out. If he's asking, if he's inviting that it's on him to sort it out, and then fans are going to sing, Edwards sort it out. But things like "How shit must you be? It's only 2-0, when our players are trying to do something, it wasn't happening. But it's not going to help, is it, that?
How much does that...
And I know some of it's jovial banter to kind of get you through the game sort of thing. But if I'm a player on the pitch, I'm like, fuck's sake, this is the last thing I need. I'd like to think as a fan that it would spur them into... But they haven't got no more that they can give in terms of effort. They are giving effort. But they're just... For the want of a better phrase, they've run out of ideas now.
I don't think it's a good thing, especially the derby coming up with Watford. I just believe that should be enough. There should be enough fight and grit against Watford for them really to G themselves up and get going.
Oh Christ!
You
If
know?
Well, maybe that's what it would
Yeah.
be. Maybe that game has to be the next game to change anything, because if you can't be up and for this one and fighting, there is going to be no hiding place, is it?
No.
There's a couple of questions I want to ask in the preview podcast about where we go with this, but that's got to be the basis, isn't it? If you seem to not be thundering into challenges or marking your man or hesitating and stuff, then that's not going to end well.
Just be strong and be positive in what you do. If you get it wrong, that's fine. You're second tier footballers at the minute. You're not gonna play like Brazil 1970, as we keep on quoting, or Man City. You're not gonna do that. But if you're strong, if you're positive, if you're looking to do things, then we'll get behind you. But it's when you're tentative, when you just make a simple mistake of letting your man go, and they're the kind of things that Luton fans don't like, won't like, and will never settle for, and nor should they, to be honest. That was 33 quid yesterday, and however much petrol money or train fare to get up there 7-8 days after we went to Plymouth. That was a good effort to have whatever we had, 1,500 Luton fans there or whatever it was. They're entitled to a lot more than that, and Rob knows that. I don't need to tell him that. And to be fair to Rob, there are managers that have managed this football club who will have gone nowhere near the fans yesterday, but he came and he apologised, even though he was getting sung at. He still took it like a man. I'm looking at you, Graham Jones. Nowhere to be seen when it went tits up for him, was he, at Brentford? Couldn't get into one of them 4 pubs on Griffin Park quick enough. But he took it on the chin and he did it, and he cares, right? Anyone who thinks that Rob Edwards doesn't care, I've seen some things on social media, and I should stop reading social media when we play like this, but unfortunately, as the trust media officer, I do have to keep an eye on social media. People are saying, he's had the Premier League life and he's trying to secure a Premier League job. Well, he ain't going to get a Premier League job. He cares. I've said it before. He probably cares too much. He, like you said, Frankie, he takes it home with him. He's looked a forlorn figure in recent press conferences, so you can't say he doesn't care. He's not out there looking like that because he's pissed off at life. He's out there because he's pissed off at what he's seeing on the pitch.
Of course, yeah.
But at the same token, Alfie Doughty right wing, Victor Moses left wing, Jordan Clark as a shadow striker, diagonals to Reece Burke. It's too complex. Just keep it simple, Alfie's got a left foot, a wand of a left foot. Get him on that left-hand side, go past the defender, and trust that Rue Waters can cover the other way. Victor Moses can go past any defender however he wants to. Leave Reece Burke to do the defending. Give it to Victor Moses. Let him run at them. Get a midfield runner in the box. Get Elijah going to the box. And let's just play some normal football. This fancy Dan stuff was nice in the Premier League when you had Ross Barkley. The geezer's just beat Bayern Munich. He's a special footballer. Sambi Lokonga, special footballer. They're not here now. And this is no disrespect to Marvellous, Tom Krause, Shandon Baptiste. They're not them two, and they're never going to be them two, because them two are special. You've got to play to the capabilities of what these boys have got right now. Now, they might, with coaching, once they're confident, improve beyond what we've seen from them. But right now, give Shandon Baptiste the ball, because he looked bloody great on the sodding thing. Give Tom Krause a role where he can get up alongside the striker and press high, because he was brilliant at it on Tuesday night. Give wingers their side to go past their man and get a cross in. And then something might happen, but we can't have another one of them. We just can't. He can't, and we can't.
Well, like you say, if it's rock bottom, then it's only on the way up from there. But maybe the fact that the fans were singing "Edward Sort It Out" is a large majority realization of what we said in the previous podcast, that
he's here for a while.
He's going to be here for staying, and maybe that's a positive. And if that's the case, then you can stop with that. Will he, won't he? Will they sack him, won't he sack him stuff? Although I know probably it won't stop on social media and stuff, but maybe in the terraces that can stop, and put that to one side and then get behind the boys a bit more. I know that's difficult because if that performance, there was nothing to shout about. We're struggling to talk about it in any positive light at all.
I get you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've been largely positive this season about certain things, but that game, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing to be positive.
No, someone in the derby thunder into a tackle in the first 10 or 15 seconds. Not recklessly, Liam Walsh style, but just like he also did on Kraus. Let someone know that you're there and get the crowd going and get the crowd into it. Because if the crowd are into it, we know that they're weak and we know that they'll fade because we saw it 2 years ago. And okay, they've got some different players, but there's no João Pedro in their side now or any of that level. So, but this 2 weeks need to be used really, really well. In some ways, it's a shame Mark McGuinness is going away because I think we could really do with him being around and building some relationships with people around him and getting some kind of improvement. And we don't really need him pissing about in Finland and here, there and everywhere. It's probably only sat on a bench as well. It doesn't really serve any purpose, does it? But that's where we're at. It was terrible. There's no getting away from it. To be fair, I've seen some social media posts with fans who saw some players after the game and they, by all accounts, admitted it to them. So they knew it. You know, they know that it's...
They admitted that it was terrible or something else.
Yeah, that performance was terrible. Reece Burke admitted it. He didn't say the word terrible, did he? But his interview with Three Counties, he was pretty strong in the fact that we weren't good enough. And
I think it's good that they can identify that, though.
I agree.
I really do think, as a professional sportsman, that they can admit that, you know, things aren't going their way and they need to do something about it.
And now
pretty sharpish before the...
And now it's on them, though, isn't it?
Maybe that's
to act on that.
That's what you have to do when you hit rock bottom, by all accounts. You've got to admit a lot of things before you can start changing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. The team bus passed us on the way home yesterday, so they weren't in the dressing room for long after the game, which I'm not overly sure is a good thing. But they need to get in that dressing room and have a few home truths, didn't they? I kind of think before the Bournemouth game, I seem to recall that they had a meeting about how big that game was and things. They need another one of their meetings, don't they?
Yeah, the senior pros have done that, so that probably will happen. That needs to happen, I think. Yeah, there's just going to have to be some real honesty about what's working and what's not working. And I think there was it was there in parts on Saturday. Otherwise, they wouldn't have changed it, or changed the formation at least. But then they haven't really gone the whole hog into the players in front of the defence, and also just that is very confused playing Doughty on the right, where I don't know if is he effective there. Can't remember a game he's been effective. Victor Moses has been effective there. Put him on the other side. Doesn't make any sense. And maybe if they're protecting Jacob Brown, we'll just give him 60 minutes and then whip him off, because he'd be a better foil for Elijah than Jordan Clark would. Is that there's a lot there that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So they've got to have a look at that and see that it weren't working, and I'm hopeful that that would be the case, because there wasn't anything. You can't look at the video back and say, oh, we did this or that wrong, that right. There was nothing right.
No, they're professional sportsmen. They'll be made to watch that in their meetings, won't they? They'll be made to. Even if they don't want to, they'll be made to. And they can't possibly look at that and think that's in any way acceptable. I refuse to believe that they will do that. How much better it'll be against Watford remains to be seen, but it can't be that bad. No professional sportsman with any professional pride about them at all can perform like that again. And I'm confident that that won't happen. So that's the dissection of, as well, what we hope is as bad as it gets, certainly at championship level for this particular squad. They're still good players. We just need to get it back to basics, get some confidence into them, let them flourish, and then maybe from there we can start getting all fancy and stuff like that again. Lots of you predicted a Sheffield United win. How dare you? How dare you? But you weren't wrong, unfortunately. So you all get all of those that did, and there's too many of you to read out. You get a point in the score predictions, which will get a leaderboard sorted out during the international break, ready for the derby. Claire Clark, special mention to you. You were a special traitor, going 2-0 against Luton. Sheffield United 2, Luton 0. You got it spot on, so 3 points to you. You were the only one. So, 3 points there. Gritted teeth, I'll say, well done. Even though actually I know that you didn't want to be right, but you were. That's the football done. But we've got this man on my right here for good reason, because Frankie, you are defending this belt that we've got under the table at York Hall on Saturday night.
Yep.
Talk to us about the fight.
Yeah, so I'm defending my Southern Area belt against Lewis Frimpong, and it's also for a English eliminator for the English title.
So you win that. Next one's the English
and
title fight.
Next one will be for the English title, yeah.
Good
So
stuff.
really, really excited to put on a good show for the people of Luton and hopefully get a few more people behind me.
Absolutely, yeah. Frankie's fight Saturday. What happens in fight week?
Well,
Are you done training-wise?
I'm done training wise. This week will just be more about sharpening up, getting tickets out. As you probably know, it's not all glitz and glam in the professional boxing game. So dishing out the tickets, cutting weight, getting the nutrition spot on, and refuel on, and get ready for Saturday for a good performance.
Without me giving too much away, are you on weight the Sunday before the weigh-in, or are you literally getting down to it on weigh-ins on Friday, presumably?
Well, a lot of weight dictated sports, you wouldn't be just walking around at your weight. You'd have to obviously do a little weight cut and stuff like that. And every boxer goes through the same thing. So I'm experienced at it. So it's not going to be too hard for me to do that. So.
Frimpong, then, what do you know about him?
I'm not too. I haven't seen too much of Lewis. I know that he's a come forward fighter. He's from a good stable. I believe he's from Oxfordshire. But I'm from Luton. I'm from Farley Hill, and I've got the dog in me. So I'm really looking forward to putting on a good show for all my fans. I usually bring a good head of people and a good herd of people down to York Hall, and the Luton people do get behind me. So I'm really looking forward to it on Saturday night.
It's a great time for Luton Boxing, isn't it? We've had Linus on the podcast the last or twice in the last month or so. He obviously defended his title successfully. Ticey's defended and won another title since then.
Linus won it back. So, the second time he's the English champ.
Won it back. Getting my defences. I'm so het up on Luton's defence that I can't get defence out of it. But good time for Luton Boxing right now.
Absolutely. So there's a good pedigree that comes out of Luton. It's not just the football. Luton have got quite a few boxing clubs in it, and the talent that's coming out of Luton at the moment is absolutely wild. The main people, obviously myself, Linus, Ticey, Jordan, K Prosper come out as well. We had Josh Goodin, another Luton Town fan, Sam King. So we've got quite a lot of prospects coming out of the town. Daryl Tapfuma, actually, I boxed him recently. He's from Hockwell Ring. I got the win on that one. It was a good fight there, Darren. So yeah, like boxing Luton's always been a big part of me, and also Luton Town Football Club as well. And yeah, just being able to represent Luton in the fight scene is really rewarding and stuff. So
we asked Linus when we had him on. Luton are obviously moving to Power Court soon.
Yeah.
Is the dream to box at Power Court?
No, Kenilworth Road.
That's what he said, isn't it?
I'll be honest, Kenilworth Road. It's just been such an iconic place for me as a kid. I've watched Luton. My first ever game was in 2005 against QPR on a Tuesday night, raining. My Uncle John took me down.
Do you know what? That might be my first ever game I reported on Luton. When Ian Holloway was the QPR boss.
I believe that. Yeah. That is correct. So, since that day, I've just fallen in love with Kenilworth Road and the absolute electric atmosphere that comes out of there. And as well, like the people, like I've met so many good people that have come, just walking out of the ground, going to the ground at half time, having a beer with people. I'm just a normal lad. I'm just a lad that just followed his dreams, and I'm still here chipping away. So, yeah, mate, I'd say, Kenilworth Road over Power Court. I haven't seen Power Court just yet. So.
It'd be brilliant to get a Luton card on it, wouldn't it? You, Ticey, Linus, Jordan, all on the same card at Kenilworth Road in one summer, just before we leave there. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Could I say Linus first, Jordan? Could I say that?
We did ask him. We did ask him. I think they're cautiously avoiding each other.
Okay. So, look, I'm just here, man.
Same weight division, isn't they? So yeah, it might be a fight that Luton want to see in a couple of years' time.
Absolutely, yeah. And why not? I feel like they're two good lads, two very experienced boys as well, and both come from real good amateur pedigree. So I believe that's a good fight for Luton for sure.
Definitely, yeah. You're one of the other fighters we mentioned as well. Obviously, Tycee. You're quite close to Tycee.
Yeah.
Same stable as well now, isn't it?
Correct.
So that was an incredible win for her about a fortnight ago.
Yeah.
She's defended a Commonwealth belt, kept hold of the British one, which wasn't up for grabs on that night, and then added the WBO International. Were you there with her on the night?
Unfortunately, I wasn't there because I had a boxing course, but I was with her in spirits for sure. Yeah, Tycee's smashing it. I've grown up with Tycee since I was young, so from high school, and our families have known each other since from really way back from Hightown. And yeah, me and Tycee just been back to back, rubbing shoulders off each other in the gym, and really just going through the levels of each other. And it's really good to see that she's doing as well as she is now, especially being a really good friend of hers as well. So
feels like at the moment things are going really well for her. It's almost like she's got the world in the palm of her hand at the moment.
Yeah.
It seems like those shots for the big belts they're probably on the next couple of fights, aren't they?
I'm hoping so. Yeah. Could possibly be a world title. Could possibly be a defense of the British. I'm pretty sure she's looking to win that outright. I think that's her main goal. From what I know personally, from England, being in her stable and stuff like that. So I'd love to see her with a world title. Whether that's WBA, obviously WBC's the number one, or WBO, any one of them world titles, I believe she deserves it, and she's up there. She's up there with them top girls, and she's proved that as well. She recently lost the world title over in France. I can't remember what the girl's name was, but I believe she put in such a good performance over there. Why shouldn't she be world champion? Yeah.
I'm told that one was so ridiculously close, and that obviously being the home fighter, probably got the decision there. But she's been in the mix, hasn't she, since then? Obviously had to go down a little from the world title level, but then won the belts that she did, British and Commonwealth, and then she's defended them. So it seems like the trajectory is heading back towards that, isn't it? And I don't think that French lady is the title holder for that belt anyway. I think she lost it the next fight. So there's lots up for grabs but at the minute, I suppose, with you and Linus and Tycee all got belts, so that's really impressive for Luton, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, and it just goes to show what sort of pedigree and what sort of stamp that the Luton fighters do have and can show. Like, we're not just we're not just trying to win fights, we're trying to actually put Luton on the map to let all the big promoters out there know, like, there's a big possibility here for a big show. And that's what I want in the future. I want to showcase to everyone who we are and how much hard work we put in, because sometimes on the, shall I say, small hall scene, there's not as many eyes. So obviously selling tickets, getting your name out there is very hard, especially if you're not signed. So it's a long old road for the small hall lads, especially if you're not signed straight away. But yeah, I'd say a couple more fights and I'll be on the telly, hopefully.
Yeah, keep doing Luton proud. I'm sure you will do. I mean, it's a great time for British boxing, isn't it? What are we, 2 weeks after Dubois Joshua has just lit up the boxing scene again in this country, 96,000 at Wembley, and everyone's talking boxing now, aren't they, all of a sudden? Yeah. And what are we going to be 6 weeks away before the build-up to Fury Usyk really starts? So boxing's going to be out there now. So it must be a great time for anyone up and coming. They can see that boxing's on the map again.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and there's a lot of eyes on boxing, whether that's from, I don't know if you guys know, like Misfits, or there's all that sort of chaos going on that side of boxing, and white collar and amateurs and pros. So, boxing's booming at the moment, an absolute booming sport, and it does so well for the youth. It does so well for the younger generation. It gives them the discipline, gives them all them other attributes that need to be shown for the younger generation today, especially in Luton. Especially in Luton. I don't know if you've heard about some dodgy things that have been happening recently with stabbings, and Luton isn't the most prettiest place, but it does have its flowers. So for me to be able to showcase that, and Ticey and Jordan and Linus and the other fighters, to show that there is good hope here, then I'm proud to do that. So,
And you do work with Boxing Save Lives, don't you? So that gets out in the community and it works with kids as well that probably maybe some of them wouldn't have the best opportunities. And what do you see that boxing does for those kids?
I see it gives them a sense of direction. It also gives them, like I say, about the attributes of discipline, dedication, respect, and it also shows in their schoolwork as well. So working with Boxing Saves Lives, you come across all sorts of walks of life. Some kids with autism, some kids with ADHD, anger management, all walks of life, old, some homeless people. So you realise, like, when you work with them for a few weeks, the change in how they are, the way they perceive things. Some kids can come in that are really frustrated, and within 4 or 5 weeks, you've got them on the pads and they're just buzzing to have that 45 minutes to an hour release of life. And it's like, I'll bring them into Luton Town Boxing Club, which is, it's like a safe haven for a lot of kids. I do voluntary work down there on a Tuesday and Thursday, give back to the kids, the schoolboys, the younger lads, and it's a safe haven for a lot of kids, man. Like they come down and they really appreciate your time. And for me to give an hour or two a week and show them the art of boxing, which is hit and don't get hit, and also showing them that you don't have to always be the fighter. Like, you can walk away. You can walk away from situations and be the bigger man. So yeah, I'm privileged to be able to do that.
Yeah, because Jordan Reynolds, you mentioned there, he's from your neck of the woods, Farley Hill. He's made no secret of the fact that his life was very hard when he was younger, and that boxing almost his way out and brought him out of it. And do you see that a lot? Is that a familiar story?
There's always a story behind every fighter, and it's the same. It's the same with a lot of homeless people in Luton. I go out running in Luton all the time. 2-3 times a week. And I run from London Road all the way through the town centre part of Town Hall, and all up round this way, around High Town, back down through towards the George pub. And you do come across a lot of homeless people, and there's been a few times where I've stopped and asked if they're okay. But a lot of these people have stories. There's always a story behind the problem. And it's the same behind a fighter. Like, my career and my journey throughout boxing and throughout life hasn't always been so straightforward. I lost my mum, unfortunately, when I was 20 to a drug overdose, unfortunately. So I've had it quite hard for the past 5 or 6 years. But that I fight for, it's like a release. I feel free when I fight. I have that sense of not being like, I have like chains coming off me, shackles coming off me. I don't feel so, I don't feel trapped, I have a lot of fighters have a lot of demons. Some fighters don't. Some fighters do it to prove others wrong. Everyone has their own journey and their own reasons why they box or fight or get into a combat sport. So, and all the different types of people, you'll be surprised that everyone has a different but similar story.
I love that comment that you made earlier. Luton has flowers, and yeah, we get run down an awful lot by people that don't understand Luton, but we absolutely do. Frankie, keep on doing Luton proud. People of Luton, get right behind this guy. This guy is a special human being. So
he's got his belt here. We need to see this
we
belt.
do
don't
need
we?
to see this
We're gonna
belt.
write the belt out, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We would see this belt.
We've got tickets available for next week. If anyone wants to come down, I'll send you guys over the link.
Then the link, we'll put it in the show notes. Yeah,
Appreciate it. Let's get this up. Go on, Luton.
Every bit of kit, that, isn't it?
Yeah, have a little hold on that.
Look at that. Lovely. Yeah, you'll be keeping hold of that on Saturday, won't you?
You know that.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. It's this belt.
So that's my dream, to be able to parade this around the Luton pitch and the English title.
Well, you heard it there, Luton Town.
Yep. Let's make this happen.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, get our title winners around that pitch.
Indeed. So, yeah, best of luck on Saturday night, Frankie.
Thank you very
We're all right behind you. That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast.
Finish on a good note. Yeah.
Absolutely.
After that
Yeah.
terrible weekend.
Unfortunately, the football part of it was shit, but we can't do nothing about that. But
There's no football this next weekend, so get behind the boxing.
Indeed. Yep. All the links and everything for Frankie's fight tickets in the show notes. If you want to go, jump on there, and tickets still available. You've got 1 week left to vote for us for the Best Football League podcast at the Football Content Awards. Voting closes 11:59 p.m. Sunday, the 13th of October. We would love it to have a chance to lift that trophy and have our own little memento like Frankie's brought in here. So yeah, if you can spare just a few seconds to vote, you can vote on their website and you can vote again on their social media feeds. You can do it up to 5 times. Obviously 5 votes, an awful lot better than 1 if you have the potential to do that. We really would appreciate it.
And we'll pepper our social media with all of that. So yeah, forgive us, but we really want that trophy.
We do indeed. Yep, we're all trying to do Luton so proud, and that'd be a great way to do it. Thanks for watching or listening, however it is that you've consumed this podcast. Do keep your comments coming in. We'll read all of them. There will be more podcasts coming during the international break. We'll do some sort of power court look at. We'll try and get someone from inside the camp to do that with us. And then, of course, the preview of the big one will be out next week. So keep your eye out for that. Obviously, if you subscribe, you'll know exactly when they drop, things like that. Thanks to the Barber Club and the Lower Level in Luton for hosting our studio. We really, really do appreciate your support, guys. To Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. From James, Frankie and myself, please don't be that bad again, Town. Come on, you atters.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care